There are animals that seem smart. Dolphins, crows, chimpanzees. But then there are orangutans, creatures that build their own homes every evening, teach their young for years, use tools, medicine, and have their own cultural traditions. Some scientists call them the most intelligent beings on Earth. But the most unsettling part is something else. When you look at an orangutan for too long, you get a strange feeling that he's studying you too. So, orangutans. They are quite literally the people of the forest. In fact, the word orangutan translates directly to forest person. For centuries, local tribes believed something chilling, that these creatures actually knew how to speak, but chose to remain silent so humans wouldn't force them to work. Sounds a bit silly, right? I agree. And it stays just a legend, until you look them in the eye. Because from there, the facts only get stranger. Let's dive in. Their DNA is a 97% match with ours. They are among our closest relatives on the entire planet. Effectively, these are primates who seemingly chose to stay in the forest while our ancestors descended from the trees to the ground. Sometimes, you get the feeling you're not looking at an animal, but an alternative version of a human being, especially when you realize how intelligent they truly are. Imagine this. Every single evening, orangutans build themselves a new home. It sounds almost impossible. Before bed, in just 10 to 15 minutes, an orangutan starts by bending thick branches to weave a foundation. Then, they craft a mattress out of leaves, and sometimes even construct a roof to keep the rain out. But the craziest part? They do this every single day from scratch. It makes you wonder why. Just imagine, you live high in the jungle, and every evening, you build your own bed with your bare hands. It's mind-blowing. Orangutans also have a real culture. Yes, literally. Different groups of orangutans use different tools, different ways of gathering food, and even have unique habits in their daily lives. Some know how to open complex fruits in a specific way. Members of another group might use particular sticks to catch insects, while a third group does things their neighbors have never even seen. And all of this knowledge is passed down to their children during years of schooling. But we'll get to that. Just like humans, they even have their own dialects. Scientists have noticed that different groups of orangutans emit different signals and use entirely different sounds to communicate. In essence, they have regional communication styles, almost like human accents and dialects. And at this point, it starts to feel a bit eerie, because the line between us and them begins to blur rapidly. Moving on, they've even invented acoustic deception. This is easily one of the wildest facts on our list. An orangutan can hold a leaf to its mouth to manually change the pitch of its voice. It makes the sound deeper, huskier, and more intimidating. To an enemy, this suggests a much larger and more dangerous animal is lurking nearby. They aren't just screaming, they are consciously manipulating acoustics to make themselves appear more fearsome. Fascinating. Next, orangutans treat themselves with medicinal plants. What does that mean? It looks like the very beginning of human medicine. Scientists observed a male with a deep wound on his face. And what did he do? He found a specific medicinal liana in the jungle, chewed it into a paste, applied it to the wound, and then covered it with the rest of the plant. And the wound healed without any infection. This is likely one of the first known cases of a wild animal purposefully using a natural remedy to treat a fresh injury. After seeing that, it's hard to call them primitive animals, but there's more. Their infants, much like ours, spend years learning. An orangutan mother raises her child almost like a human. For years, she shows them which plants are deadly and should be avoided, where to find food, and how to build that home we talked about earlier. She teaches them how to move safely through the forest to avoid trouble, and even how to treat wounds. This isn't just an instinct they're born with, this is real education. That's why their childhood lasts incredibly long compared to other animals, up to 7 or 8 years. But now, I'm afraid we have to talk about something darker. Palm oil is destroying their world. This is where our video stops being just about interesting facts. I want to draw your attention to a massive problem. To make room for palm oil plantations, vast areas of the jungle are simply burned to the ground. Forests where orangutans have lived for millennia vanish in weeks. And with the forest, their food, their homes, and any chance of survival disappear. The most terrifying part? Most people don't even realize how often palm oil is hidden in everyday products. To steal a baby, poachers kill the mother. Because an orangutan mother will never, ever give up her child voluntarily. Just like a human. Never. She will protect them until her very last breath. And that is why the infants sold illegally or kept as pets are almost always orphans. They only exist in that trade because they were torn away from their mothers. The hardest part is that many rescued orphans have to spend years learning how to live again. In rehabilitation centers, volunteers literally replace their parents. They teach them how to climb, how to find food, and how to survive in the wild. They turn them back into orangutans. After knowing all this, it's impossible to look at these incredibly smart, yet tragically vulnerable animals the same way. They aren't just monkeys, they're so much more. Thanks for staying until the end. Take care, and I'll see you soon.